Should an injury to a single player play a difference in who does and does not make the college football playoff? It's a question that I think we have to ponder right now because of the injury to Florida State quarterback Jordan Travis. I would not be shocked to see Washington leapfrog Florida State in the college football playoff rankings on Tuesday, and the committee can hide behind the win for Washington on the road at Oregon State, a top 15 victory, as reason to propel Washington over Florida State. And it not have anything to do with Jordan Travis, but I think the first question then has to be, if Washington does leapfrog them, and I would argue that you're likely to see that on Tuesday, I think the first question has to be, what does Jordan Travis's injury, what impact does that have on Florida State's ranking? It has to matter. Whether that's fair or not is a different question, and I think it's one we should discuss. Because if you're ranking teams by resume, if you are picking the four teams, the best resumes, does Jordan Travis being out for Florida State affect their resume? No, not in the slightest, unless they lose to Florida or lose the ACC championship game. But if they go into the Sunday that we're picking the four best teams and you're choosing resumes, and to be fair, I think it's kind of been telegraphed a little bit this way anyway, that the committee is setting up that Washington was going to leapfrog Florida State at some point anyway, due to the strength of schedule argument. Like their opponent in the Pac-12 championship game, conceivably Oregon, is going to be a tougher matchup than Louisville for Florida State in the ACC championship game. But with Jordan Travis going down, it completely changes Florida State as a team, and not for the better. So as a committee member, I think you have to kind of weigh the idea of, okay, are we ranking best teams? Are we ranking resumes? How does an injury to a star player affect the rankings? And it should matter, right? Florida State, whether they're one of the four best resumes or not, I don't think it's outrageous to say they become not one of the four best teams without one of the six best quarterbacks in the country. It's just like that's cause and effect. You no longer have this guy. Ipso facto, you are no longer as good as you once were. Is it fair? No. No, it's not fair. But we have to be realistic. I don't know if you saw the video. I hope you didn't, because I did, and I didn't. I hope I don't really ever see it again, because didn't like that. I don't like when I get like 4 text messages in a row from people. It's like, did you just see that? No, what? Jordan Travis, what about him? Ankle, not good. And then you get the video, and you're like, okay, now I got to watch. I'm like, oh, God, no. No. Wish I hadn't saw that. Wish you hadn't picked that up for everybody to see. But it happened. I don't know if you saw the video. Jordan Travis ain't coming back for the college football playoff. So Florida is demonstrably different than they were before that injury. That doesn't make them not good. It doesn't make them undeserving of a Final Four spot. It just makes them different. Different doesn't mean bad. Different just means different. But I don't think it's unreasonable to say, without Jordan Travis, they are not as good as they are with him. You'll get to see Florida State twice without Jordan Travis, and we'll be able to see and compare what they look like, how they look, and still deduce whether or not they're one of the 4 best teams in the country. I'm just telling you that on Tuesday, Washington will be ranked number 4. Florida State will be ranked number 5. To be honest, I wouldn't be shocked if, I don't think they have the balls to do this, frankly. I wouldn't be shocked if Oregon was 5 and Florida State was 6. Or Oregon was 5, Texas was 6, Florida State was 7. Is Jordan Travis that important to the Seminoles? Yeah. Yeah, he is. Because you take a guy with a lot of history and a lot of experience and remove him from the lineup in what was already, I think it's somewhat controversial to have Florida State ranked above Washington to begin with. Of the wins in America, does Washington have the best win? Yeah. Yeah, they do. And they're undefeated. And they've got a super dynamic, explosive offense and a pretty good defense. So I thought it was somewhat controversial that they had Florida State ranked above Washington to begin with. But now, one player going down, and we talked about this earlier in the season, that when Brock Bowers went down for a few weeks for Georgia, that here are the guys that you can't be without. Like that, Ohio State can't lose this guy. Ohio State can't lose Marvin Harrison Jr. Michigan can't lose J.J. McCarthy, Blake Corum. Florida State, the one guy that they couldn't lose to injury was Jordan Travis, and they've lost him to injury. So I think that injury throws a wrench into the whole thing, because it couldn't end up chalk. Ohio State and Michigan are going to play next Saturday. But I continue to believe that there are 3 spots right now locked up in the college football playoff. That Georgia has a spot unless they lose both to Georgia Tech and the SEC championship game. That the winner of Ohio State, Michigan, for all intents and purposes, I think you can put a check mark next to the W column of who's going to play Iowa in the Big Ten championship game. Now, it might be a low-scoring slobber knocker, but the winner of Ohio State, Michigan, I think, is guaranteed a spot in the Final Four. I think the loser has a spot in the Final Four, too. And then that 4th spot is up for Florida State, Oregon, Washington, and Alabama, and to a lesser extent, Texas, to fight through. I think the loser of Oregon-Washington is probably eliminated. I think I wouldn't be shocked if Florida State, frankly, is now eliminated unless they go 13-0 and things stay the same above them. I don't. Florida State has to go perfect and has to get some help, I think, at this point, because I'm here to tell you that without Jordan Travis, I think 12-1 Texas gets in over 13-0 Florida State. I don't think that. I don't think they've got the balls to do it, but that's probably what should happen. But I think we'll know a lot when we see the rankings on Tuesday for the first time. And obviously, that's no shit, Captain Obvious. That's obviously, we're going to know a lot. But you're going to get an insight into the thought process of how they view how significant the injury to Jordan Travis is to Florida State's playoff chances. My guess is right now that it's a massive blow to their playoff chances. Whether that's fair, whether that's right, is a different discussion. And whether it's fair for anybody to have their college football playoff chances torpedoed in the penultimate week of the regular season by one injury stinks. It sucks. It's unfortunate. But the reality is it's going to play a factor. It's going to play a role. Just how big of one, I don't know. But we're going to find out here in a couple of days, and we'll talk about it here on the Daily Huddle. It's Sunday. I've been slacking lately. It's time for the Sunday Stiff Arm Trophy update. We are getting down to the nitty-gritty, and we got a high riser, and I think the trophy is going to come down to this weekend's games. And when you take a look at my Heisman Trophy ballot, which I do not have, so it's inconsequential, but it is fun to have picked a Heisman Trophy winner every Sunday, except for the last 2 Sundays, I think. Michael Penix Jr. still gets my number 1 vote. Jaden Daniels coming on strong. I think Jaden Daniels is playing for the Heisman Trophy on Saturday against Texas A&M. Now, I don't think he can have another 8-touchdown game like he had yesterday, but I think Michael Penix Jr. is going to be viewed as the best quarterback of one of the best teams, or I guess the quarterback of one of the best teams in America, which is kind of some of the prerequisites. Bo Nix had been the betting favorite. Now Jaden Daniels is the betting favorite. J.J. McCarthy was the betting favorite at one point. And I think that just boils down to, okay, best quarterback in America, or one of the best quarterbacks of one of the best teams in America, you have a great chance to win. I still think Michael Penix Jr. is the front runner, despite the betting odds shifting from J.J. McCarthy to Bo Nix to Jaden Daniels. I still think Penix Jr. is the front runner. If Jaden Daniels has even a remotely, if he has a above average game on Saturday, which is very, very good performance for everybody else in America, I think he wins the Heisman Trophy. And if you go back into the early, like one of the first couple of episodes of this podcast, I told you that LSU would win the national championship this year, but I told you that Jaden Daniels would win the Heisman Trophy. So I have like a vested interest here of that happening, of that coming to fruition. But still right now, Penix Jr. would get my vote, and I would agonize over it for a long time before I hit submit. But I don't have a Heisman Trophy vote, so it doesn't really matter. I would like one, though, if you could get me in contact with whoever. We can make that happen. I'd be willing to do that. Take one for the team and vote for the Heisman Trophy. So that'll do it for this episode of the Daily Huddle. We'll be back at it tomorrow. It's rivalry week all over college football. We'll preview all of them this week. Looking forward to chatting college football with you here on the Daily Huddle on Saturday Glory. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're getting all the great college football content we're pumping out here at Saturday Glory. If you are listening on the podcast, drop a 5-star review. It goes a long way in helping us get in front of more college football fans. Back at it tomorrow. We'll see you then here on the Daily Huddle with Saturday Glory.